3 or 4 times, I ain't telling no lies, I just run it up. Never let a hard time humble was.
All right. So, this is Couple of J's podcast. I'm your host, PJ. Today, MJ is not joining us because she came down with the flu and she's just pretty sick. But we do have special guests, actually my family members.
What's up? It's JoJo.
JoJo what?
JoJo Gonzalez.
And my brother.
Pito Gonzalez.
So normally we have tough conversations off camera, and we go through a lot of different situations as a family, right? So, you know, a lot of tough conversations over the years, the past couple years, especially pertaining to Joe. Joe is actually 18 now.
Yeah.
Joe's 18.
Turning 19 this year.
Right.
September.
Right.
So.
And I don't know, P. We've had a lot of tough conversations with this kid here.
That's what it's supposed to be, though.
Do you feel when you do have those tough conversations with Joe, or either with me too, because you've been having it for years, especially with me. You done pretty much helped me navigate life.
It's the circle of life, in my opinion. It's like guiding you your entire life, for the most part, being your big brother. It's kind of like just doing it again with him.
Yeah.
And just making sure that I'm making those corrections and not biting my tongue for certain things that I might not have said to you, and really just giving him the real spill every time I get a chance to talk to him. Because I want to guide him as best as I can every single time, you know,
right,
through our experiences in life or whatever, like whatever we've experienced. You know, we've took those bumps and bruises so that way he doesn't have to. So that's kind of like my mindset whenever I speak to him.
Right.
So he can avoid those, you know, different obstacles that he might come across, for sure.
How do you feel about that, Joe? When you are getting advice from me or from Uncle Pito, do you take it with a grain of salt, or do you kind of just you know, go through one ear and out the other, or do you be like, yo, I really listening to this, what they got to say right here?
So from my perspective, I feel like at a younger age, you know, because you guys both obviously have been having those kind of talks with me since I can remember.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like at a younger age, definitely it was at times going in one ear and out the other. Certain things that I wanted to listen to, I feel like I would listen to. And, you know, some things I'm just going to be hard-headed about. And, you know, I feel like sometimes I did have trouble listening. But, like, as I mature and as I get older, I feel like there was, like, a point probably where it kind of just switched. And I'm like, you know what, like, they are a lot older than me. They've been through a lot more than me. They have more wisdom. So, like, maybe I should listen. And maybe I shouldn't just, you know, kind of not take it serious.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like the more I started taking it serious and the more I started listening and, you know, really taking the advice, I feel like it's kind of put me in a better position, just like in general, like with everything that you guys are saying.
Do you feel like, so in your experience, like obviously you've had to kind of navigate listening to us and then not listening to us. I know when Uncle Pito used to give me advice, I always took the route to, I heard him, but I always chose to not listen and kind of go about my own, you know, thing. And I look back now and be like, dang, I wish I would have listened a lot more. You know what I'm saying?
I used to always say, I'll tell him something, and I'm not the person that be like, I told you so. PJ was just always like a dude who had to go and touch the stove to know it was hot, basically.
Right.
Like, I could tell him till I was blue in the face, but my man always had to go. He's going to do it anyway, but he's going to do it his way, right?
Yeah.
And then he'll look at me and be like, damn, I wish I did it, you know, how you told me I was supposed to do it. But that's how it's always been. I mean, sometimes you need to put your hand on the stove to know it's hot.
Yeah,
know?
For sure.
You can hear things, but is it really like resonating with you?
Yeah.
That's really what's important. And sometimes you go through these phases in life where it's like some things will resonate more, and it's because of a bad experience, right? And you don't want to experience that again or what have you. So I know for me, myself, is if there's a feeling that I've experienced and I tell myself, like, I don't ever want to feel that way again, I'm very conscious of not making that same mistake twice, you know.
But what do you feel like was innate in you? Because I feel like you and Joe have a lot of the same qualities. It could be because you guys are the older brothers in the situation, but I feel like there's just something in you that like you have this view and this perspective of how to handle certain things. Like Joe is very, very mature, and he reminds me a lot of you when you were younger. And that could be probably why you guys like click so well. But what do you think is like built in you that can recognize those things to not go left? Or do you guys kind of had your mistakes and kept them quiet?
Nah, I like to put it like this, to be honest. Like, I just consider myself more lucky, right? I was always around the wild stuff going on, but I was a little bit more lucky than everyone else for whatever reason it was. So we always had you, and then we always had my older sister Kayla, and you guys kind of like always were in trouble and getting into stuff. And I was the middle child, and I used to be like, all right, let me just sit back. My mom is dealing with them, so I never used to want to give her any more of a headache than she already had for the most part, because she was dealing with you guys on a regular basis, whether it was you know, the girls in middle school or high school, you know, getting into it with our older sister, or you just, you know, being you, essentially.
Running around being a knucklehead.
Right, being a knucklehead, being the unforgotten child, and kind of just figuring out your own way or whatever. I don't feel, for me anyway, I don't ever feel like I had the space in our house to kind of like present my problems, my littler problems. So I always kept it kind of like, I'm going to figure this out myself. And, you know, take the stress off my mom, or, you know, and I think that's kind of what always gave me like a different perspective on putting the shoe on the other foot with certain experiences, and like seeing it from your perspective and seeing it from my perspective, in my view.
Right. So it's crazy because like I feel like, because you didn't have anyone dumping your trauma on you, trauma just came, right? So for me, I as a parent felt like I dumped my trauma on Joe. Like, don't. I was so strict about like not going left because I already went left. I already figured that out, you know? So I feel like I dumped most of my trauma on him, and that kind of like coddled him in a way. Joe, how do you feel like that made you? Like, because I know we bumped heads a couple times, and that kind of like you being young and wanting to do your own thing, and me kind of always having these long conversations with you about just like stuff that you probably shouldn't have been hearing at a young age. I kind of dumped that on you. How does that make you feel now, and how did that make you feel then?
I feel like in the long run, it was definitely for the better, because it definitely made me more aware of a lot of certain situations that I used to talk about. When I got into those situations, it was like, okay, this is what my dad was talking about. Like, be aware, be present in the situation. Don't, you know, be a follower or whatever the case may be for that situation. So I feel like definitely, like growing up and looking back on it, it was definitely like beneficial.
But in the process of me telling you,
In the
couldn't see it.
in the process back then, it was just like what is he even talking about, kind of.
Right. I remember
That's funny.
We were telling them about our upbringing, and you were saying like like one of the things Joe said was, he's like, I can't relate, like I don't know what you guys are talking about, and we literally had to break down like our childhood for him to understand, and even then it was probably tough for him to understand.
Yeah, I feel like that moment that you're talking about was kind of like like one of
Remember
the,
that?
Yeah, it was more of like one of the more like real moments for me.
Yeah.
It was kind of like
I put it in
I had
perspective
always
for you. That's
yeah,
why.
I kind of had always just like been wanting to say that, like always, like because you would always say like you know, like the stuff like from where you guys came from and like how your upbringing was, and I always just listened and I never said anything, and like that was for me like kind of stepping up and being like, well, like, Dad, like I can't relate to you guys, like I don't know what you guys been through, because I never really got to get a story or an in detailed experience. It was always kind of just like what you said, like, you know, well, it was hard coming up, this and that. So I feel like that was like kind of like a real moment for
Like
me.
an eye opener.
I
Yeah,
kind of
for
remember
sure.
that specifically, actually. But it's funny, I'll go back to like PJ talking to you and like pouring his traumas on you, or like whatever he felt like he had to say to you at that moment in time. JoJo would always have this like glazed over look, and PJ would just be talking him till he was blue in the face. PJ's like, no, he gets me. He's a smart kid. He understands. And JoJo's like 7 or 8 years old at the time. And PJ's just pouring this stuff on him heavy. I'm like, bro, you got to let him be a kid. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, he understands. We need to get him this wisdom right now. And I'm like, it'll click for him. It'll click for him. So fast forward into the moment that JoJo's talking about. We were in Meriden. We were at the Maloney parking lot. Yeah. And I think it stemmed from just being grateful, right?
Yeah.
We were like, PJ always said, you got to be grateful. You don't have to deal with a lot of things that we had to deal with. So I got really raw with JoJo. And I remember we were getting ready to leave. I was going to drop him off. And I was like, you know what? It's perfect time.
Yeah.
Let me pull over.
Yeah.
So I pulled over in the parking lot. And he's sitting there in the passenger side. Put the car in park, and I'm just giving him the real spill of our upbringing. And like, he was like, well, how am I fortunate? And I'm like, this is how you're fortunate. And I was just rattling off situation after situation, struggle after struggle, struggle after struggle. And, just telling him about like what our mom did their best or her best, at the time to raise us, but we had to become men very early on. And you were super fortunate enough not to have to deal with half of the things that we dealt with. You know what I'm saying? So like that stuff was, I think that resonated with you, and you were like, damn, like, okay, now it makes sense. Like the trauma, why I should be grateful. I could be riding to practice from across town with just a helmet and my shoulder pads on, getting to practice, but you had somebody to bring you to practice. And that's just a little example of like, why you should be grateful. But we got deeper than that.
Yeah.
So Joe, do you think that like Uncle Pito brings that like calmer energy?
Yeah,
It's easier to talk to him.
100%. I feel like my whole life,
My guy.
it's always been completely way easier to talk to Uncle Pito than it is my dad. I feel like in the same sense, I feel like it's good to have both sides because you kind of bring that tough, harsh, like, you're going to say it straight, and it's good to hear that side.
Right.
It's good to have that side because you need to know like how it can really get and how it really is. And then also having Uncle Pito bringing like the same examples but breaking it down in a easier way that I can understand.
Right.
So I feel like having both was definitely a good mixture, like knowledge wise and just like you guys talking to me. I feel like it was definitely.
Have you guys ever had like surreal moments with each other and like crying? Like, were you guys-
that day in the car, I believe.
Yeah.
He came to tears and he was just like, damn, that was a moment. And then I remember another moment you called me up. You was like, you better fucking come get him before I deal with him. That was another time he was shitting his pants, but we won't go there. But yeah, there's been a couple like aha moments. Oh, another one recently was I forget what week it was during this year. After a game, and then. You might have been in the car with me. We were talking about driving back when we were driving back home from Franklin Pierce.
Was I in there? I don't know.
You might have been.
Yeah.
And
I think you were in there.
yeah, he was just saying like, I just realized that like you guys are sacrificing a lot coming up this way and giving me your time, and like that was like another aha moment I feel like for JoJo.
Do you feel like that space being away from us, being so far away, like you're kind of able to put it into perspective a little more?
Yeah, I feel like it also like it makes me appreciate things more. Like being far away, like it makes me step back and be like and kind of like look at things like I'm really on my own. So it's like thinking of all the things that you've done for me and that you've sacrificed for me, like both of you guys and even just everybody in the family has sacrificed for me. It kind of like being on my own is like damn, like I don't have anybody to really like move this piece or do this for me or push me to be here. I kind of got to get up and that also kind of helps motivate me too every day. Just thinking about all the times you wake me up early or when you was wanting me to work out and stuff like that. It's like he's not here to do that. Like you got to get it on your own now. And I feel like being away definitely helps make me appreciate things more.
So I got a real question for you. What do you feel like I could have done better as a dad?
I feel like
Think about that.
think about it for a second. All right.
Yeah, think about that for a second.
Because I'm flawed in
You
very
don't want to
many
give
ways.
your dad understands that he's a work in progress forever, right? We all are.
Because I feel like you had to grow up with me because I had you so young at 16 years old.
Facts.
You had to literally watch my imperfections and watch me navigate myself, navigate relationships, navigate being a father. So you were kind of there, like outside, you know, looking in, but also inside dealing with me as a dad. So, and I know I'm flawed. So in that, and it's crazy because as you got older, and I'm like, dang, I pushed him away from a couple from certain things. Now with your brother, I kind of fall back and I allow him to be his own individual, and I'm not as hard, which I'm learning now. He needs me to be hard the way I was hard with you. I needed to back off of you a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? Like it's two different
In
personalities.
your opinion, though.
Yeah.
Right. We're gonna hear from him.
Yeah.
How
go
he
ahead.
feels.
Yep.
And I feel like we had a conversation about this too, though. We touched upon it because you were asking me, like, you kind of asked me the same question, and I was saying like for JJ, like kind of how you like that was kind of what we were talking about. But to answer your question, I would say like kind of going back to what you said about being like pressed up on me a lot and then kind of being off JJ. I feel like where you could have been better was kind of giving it a better mixture of both instead of just being so much pressed on me and like kind of letting it like being on me at times that it was needed, because 100% there's times always where you're needed to, you know, be on your child, or for example be on me, and there's definitely times where you should be able to like kind of step back and, you know, try to be more understanding, or in that moment of whatever your emotions, your frustration, kind of just being like, you know, like let me like kind of take a second and kind of understand how he's feeling or why he did this or what or why he's not understanding. So I feel like that's probably, you know, just one example of something that like you could have did better on.
So do you feel like that's like brought a trauma to you almost to where like now you're a little bit more reserved with your emotions? Now you're probably don't speak when you should be speaking or express yourself. Because I notice that sometimes. Sometimes I'm like, dang, this kid don't want to talk to me about his problems or his issues or whatever. You're a little bit more reserved. And I know that because I was pressed on you like that, or because I was kind of like, I overstimulated the conversation, that kind of put you in reserve mode and made you quiet and less responsive. And, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like it definitely caused me to, you know, because always being a listener, always listening, you know, always getting talked to and listening, and kind of being at that young age where it's like, I don't really know what to say back because I don't know what to say back. And then at the same time, I don't want to, you know, because I have that respect for you, I don't want to say something back and come off as disrespectful or not know how to express what to say back because I'm going to say it disrespectful. So I feel like it definitely kind of confused me on how to talk about how I'm feeling in that moment, or just talking about my feelings in general when it comes to anything.
Yeah. So, and I hear that, but just to get real with you, my struggle was having to play both, like because I was strong in certain areas, and Uncle Pito could agree with me on this. In areas like, let's say, sports, super tough. I'm passionate about it. It's something that like I feel very strongly about. So I know that those were our struggles in that area. And Uncle Pito had to talk to me a couple times about like kind of not being so crazy. And then but I was soft on you in a lot of areas. Maybe like school. I was only tough with you unless I had to be tough. Like, all right, I'm getting calls from teachers now. It's time to straighten up.
Yeah, and I feel like that example, the school example, is kind of one where I feel like it could have been more of a better balance. Like if you would have been a little more tougher at like, instead of, because the way I felt about it was, okay, like he don't care, you know, so I'm chilling. I would get my grades, they would drop a little bit, then I would be too much chilling, and then it's like all at once, boom, all at once, you're coming at me 100%. Like, and it's just like boom, 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 boom. Whereas if it could have just been like, you know, like maybe, I don't know, like I don't want to give an example, but like just trying to be strict but also lenient at the same time, instead of being super lenient and then bow
and then hit you hard,
and then hit me hard.
Yeah, damn,
So,
I never looked at it like that.
So I don't have any kids, so I'm always on the outside looking in, and I'm learning from like your mistakes with him, right? And there's no don't get me wrong, there's no manual to this parenting life. But you do have to use like the people around you as examples.
Absolutely.
And your own experiences, right? Certain things, certain feelings that you feel like maybe you should have had from your parents. You don't want to experience that, right? Good or bad. Whether it's good, you'll mimic it. If it's bad, you're like, I don't want to have my child feeling that way.
Right.
So when I look into your guys' like relationship, right, as father son, and there was a clear moment, might have been when Eliza was there, but I'll get back to that. It was, I think it's more just about being consistent, saying what you mean, meaning what you say, and standing on that.
Right.
Right. So like, I feel like early on you didn't do that with JoJo. You gave him a lot of slack because you thought he was so mature. Where he's saying, and I can see why he feels that way, is like, be on him about school, be on him about those things, and make it even, not just sports, right? So it could have, I think the pressure could have been put on him because it would have been an expectation. You would have been saying what you mean and standing on what you're saying. So if he wasn't getting grades, or if he wasn't doing well in school, you would correct that behavior and not let it happen again.
Right.
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 Or if he was slacking in practice and not going 100%, let the coach deal with him how he deems necessary, and it is what it is, right? It's natural consequences. And I think there was a time where it was like, I told this dude he needs to start cleaning up before he has anybody in the house, right?
Yeah.
And for JoJo, it's like, all right, he just gonna yell at me a couple times, and then I'll be able to have somebody in the house. And I said, P.
Yeah.
I said, P. When you say something, you can't just say it because it's gonna blow away in thin air.
Yeah.
You have to say that and follow through on it, so he knows it's a harsh consequence. It's harsh discipline. And standing on that, because kids need that structure. Kids need that type of expectation. And this is me. I just don't know. You know, I'm not a parent, so but I feel like with anything, it's consistency. It's standing on what you're saying, and then following through with it consistently, because they'll be like, yeah, my dad's not going for that.
Right.
Versus just being like, it's just a verbal lashing real quick. Boom, I can absorb that, and then I'm back to regular scheduled business.
Yeah. I think so. This is the important part of why two parents are very, very, very necessary, because when we did have that structure, when I was with your mom, she would do all of the nagging. She would do all of the she would waste her energy, I would say, on no, you got to do your homework. You got to do Joe clean up. Nope, get to bed here. She was, and I was more laxed, right? And so all I had to do was kind of like bring home money and make sure that I gave my kids attention. And that's all I ever had to do, really. She really handled the.
It was a lot more than that, but yeah, essentially, that's kind of
essentially in my mind, that's how I was or whatever. So notice too, I spent a lot more time with you outside. We spent a lot of time just having fun, pretty much, when you were younger. But when I took on all of those responsibilities and I had to manage, you and your brother, now I have to take care of a whole household. I have to make sure that you're doing your own thing. I have to put in all these hours at work, so I'm exhausted. So like maybe that energy where I could find balance in certain things, that's why I would just let things go. And then I'm like, all right, well, today I'm not tired. But I'm tired of this dude not bringing in the grades or not doing what he got to do, so he about to get all that energy right now. Where before I'm just like, I'm so exhausted from working that I'm like, I don't even feel like dealing with this right now. Like I got to go to work and deal with that. And, and that comes from like being by myself and trying to take care of.
But that's that's another reason why it takes a village, and like me being your older brother and seeing the burden that you're taking on. Like I try to alleviate as much of that as possible, and I think because I've had so much access to your kids from the day they were born, that it was easy, right? Being an uncle was easy. Being an uncle was fun, and I didn't always have that amenity with my older sister and her kids. And you can see kind of like, I love them the same.
Oh, absolutely.
But I just was able to spend more time with JoJo and Jaylin because they were just more accessible.
Right.
They were closer. But to take and alleviate some stress and burden off of you, I would insert myself and let them know they got another voice to listen to and kind of like have another man in their life to guide them,
I tell you what, like if I've never said this to you before, I'm gonna say it here, bro. I appreciate you so much. Just not even for that aspect of my kids, but just like on a personal level, just having to, every time I went real left, you were the person that I leaned on to grab that advice. So the fact that you continue that role even after I'm a grown man and have children, and then you not only still do it for me, but you do it for my kids, I think is just super commendable. And I don't think they make people like you, in this world like that. Like, it's very rare to have that. And I do appreciate everything that you've ever done for us as a whole. And your presence is, I'm about to cry. You feel me?
Yeah, don't make me cry, bro.
Your presence is very needed, and without you here, it would have been way harder in life. You get what I'm saying? And as a grown man, like, it's crazy because let's switch subjects. What time is it? And we're back. Yeah, I just had to wipe away those tears.
Yeah,
Yeah. So what was I saying?
you just telling me how great I am, basically.
No, like
let
your
me keep
presence,
hearing it.
everything
No,
has
I'm
just hasn't gone unnoticed or like I hope, like, Jesus, I appreciate you. That's it. Like, pretty much. But it's the conversation that me and you had last year, and
Which one?
well, I think I was living with you at the time.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay,
So
that one.
that conversation when we spoke about it the other day
At the kitchen table.
at the kitchen table.
Okay.
I said, one of the things that my brother brought to light to me was because I had that like comfort level with him, because he was my go-to, because he was the person that I know would never leave me. I had mistaken that for like, I want to say mistaken it.
I think you just kind of took it for granted.
I took it for granted that that's not how he would be the only person that I would explode on, right? He would be like, if he said no to me, or if he did something that that didn't align with me, and he was just stern with me, or I felt like he was unloyal to me, or whatever the case was, I would get like super explosive, and that's how I would respond to him. And in my spirituality, which I'm thankful for, that I was able to process that and go through that. Him and I had a conversation, and that conversation was like, bro, if you love me, why do you talk to me like I'm someone on the street?
But what segue to that though? Like, he did it one last time, even while he was in his spirituality.
While I was in my spirituality,
he was still kind of working on himself, and it was a situation where it didn't go as he thought it should have went,
right,
and how he believed it should have went. Again, PJ was kind of just seeing it from his lens and his perspective, so I kind of had to reel him in and let him know, like, this is what it is, right? I said, and he exploded on me. And I just sat back and I was like, yeah, this is the time I gotta let this dude know, because I'm feeling disrespected. And I didn't want to get in a tussle with you.
Yeah,
we're grown men at this time. You got kids, all that, right? So I was like, all right. So I sat him down. I was like, bro, if you love me and you have loyalty to me how you say you do, why do you talk to me the way you do? And I just stood quiet for a little bit. I was like, think about it. Have I ever talked to you out of pocket or out your name? I never swore at you. I've never cursed at you, nothing. I've always spoke to you with respect. If you love me and you're loyal to me, why do you speak to me that way?
And it's crazy because had I not would have been in my spirituality, I'm not looking at self-love. I'm not looking at how love is supposed to be expressed. I'm not looking at, any of those things. I'm not even looking at myself, I guess, in the mirror, right? So because he said that hit me a little differently. So now I'm like, damn. So I had to think about all the ways I was projecting love at that time, right? And how I would express love, and how I cared about the people that I love, and how I truly loved them, and what that meant. So when he said that just woke up a whole nother thing in me. And that was the last time I ever spoke to you, gave you any kind of negative response or anything like that, because I had to realize, like, yo, that's true. If I love him, or if I love any of my family members, why would I talk to them like there's somebody on the street just because we're not aligned at that time?
Right. I felt like any other regular person, but because I was the most consistent piece in his life throughout his entire life, I put that in perspective. I was like, I've been the only person there for you, and I've never walked away from you ever, right? And I've been consistently there, however you needed me or however you deemed necessary. If I could do it, I'll give you the shirt off my back, and he knew that.
Right. It was like you were like my comfort blanket, right?
Punch a bag.
Comfort blanket / punch a bag, but yeah, I'm glad that got resolved and we were able to come to light with that and resolve that and really never have to go back to that.
It's
right?
part of growing up as men and
Yeah,
just
for sure.
learning, how you're supposed to treat the people you love, and that goes with any relationship. I feel like any relationship you have, whether it be a friendship, whether it be a marriage, whether it be a girlfriend, whether it be a friend, like nephew, whatever. I'm never gonna speak to somebody with disrespect if I got love for them, right? So we're supposed to come to an understanding of whatever it is, agree to disagree, but that line should never be crossed. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
So when you come from a place of love and you can communicate that, I feel like it's important to always kind of remain in that boundary and understand that, like, you should always come at somebody with some love.
Absolutely.
Before disrespecting them, for sure.
So one of the things you've always played a role in, which has helped me kind of like play that role in my kids' life, is relationships. That's something that we've all been through, and we all probably still navigating on how to be and what to be. And so, Joe being very young or whatever, getting into a relationship. You had gotten into a relationship I've gotten into a relationship at a very young age. What kind of advice do you give Joe as far as navigating that process?
I've always been a relationship ass dude.
I know.
I like having one consistent piece. I did my thing, but I've always had one consistent person in my life for, spots at a time in my life. With Joe, being a young kid and going through my own experiences, I think it's just, in general, you got to understand what you like, what you don't like, right? You get those through gaining experiences. As a young man going into college, being in a relationship, I said, you might love your girl. I said, but you guys are going into a whole nother realm, right? Go experience it, whatever that means to you. Whether it means meeting new people, networking, what have you. Every relationship doesn't have to end in spite, right? Sometimes people think that because their relationship ends in spite, it's easier. They have their feelings. Oh, he did me wrong, she did me wrong, or what have you. But it doesn't always have to be that way. And I didn't know that as a young kid.
Right.
I was trying to sabotage relationships so I can feel better about moving on.
Oh, you was toxic. I didn't know my big bro was toxic.
Not really. I just didn't know how to have like an appropriate relationship.
Right.
But I didn't learn that the first time around.
Yeah.
I know it now. That's why I said I have a wife now, because she's able to get this side of me, right?
Right.
This experienced person. And she got me at the best time of my life. So that's why I tell Taylor, like, you got the best version of me. But going back to Joe, like, I tell him, go experience, go. You don't have to end things with your individual, your partner on bad terms, but understand where you guys are going in life. You're going to college, she's going to college. She can go meet some people too.
Right.
She has to find out what she likes, what she doesn't like. The type of relationships you guys have might be toxic, might not be. But there's different experiences that you go through to help you understand yourself a lot better.
To add on to that is, and let's say you do go through college and you do experience, let's say, other people, and she experiences other people, and you kind of be like, dang, I liked the person that I was with. And going through all these processes with these different people, and all, like, they're just not feeding my soul the same way, right? So now, because you guys in the end in a toxic manner, you guys can now revisit that, because as far as you're concerned, as far as she's concerned, you guys left on a good note and on a good page. So to revisit it would be with growth, would be with different lenses, a different view. She may appreciate you a little more, you may appreciate her a little more. Not to say that you guys can't manage a relationship throughout college, but think about the likelihood of that, especially being in two different colleges, right? Like, so what is your take on how you're viewing your relationship at this moment, and how you feel like is the best way to deal with it? Or, like, would you be able to expound on that? Not to get even too
Yeah,
personal,
you don't
but
have to
like,
get personal on that.
like, what are your thoughts going into being in college, trying to maintain a relationship? Is it hard? Is it, what are the things you have to navigate at this point?
Yeah, I mean, personally, like like you said, like with my relationship, I feel like it's definitely been difficult. Both of us being at a young age, trying to manage a relationship, being at two different places, not that are not close to each other, hours apart, is definitely difficult in many aspects. Trust, communication, things like that. Like it's definitely difficult to, be consistent with that at a manageable
Yeah.
level. I feel like
Yeah.
at a like at a reasonable level for the both of us. I feel like it's not impossible to do. Like you said, it is, definitely a difficult thing. But
It's tough. It's tough to
yeah,
work through that. Anything that you want to succeed, you got to work at.
yeah,
You want to be better at sports, you got to
Mhm.
work at it. You want to be a better partner in a relationship, you got to work at it. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? But at the end of the day, like, if you're true to yourself on how you feel and she's true to herself on how she feels, if things are meant to happen,
Mhm.
it's going to happen,
Mhm.
right? So whether you guys come back and you cross paths, cool. It's supposed to happen that way. That's the way the world plays out. If it's not supposed to happen, you guys can still maintain a humble relationship and move forward and wish each other the best. And that's okay because that's life, period.
Mhm.
And like you said, it's not impossible to have a college or a relationship while you're in college. But it's about working through. And if both partners don't want to work through it because it seems too much, then it might just seem too much. It might be too much on your plate.
So kind of being like realistic.
Just being realistic and
Yeah.
being real with each other and understanding that like all the possibilities
Right.
legitimately, right? Because like you're you're at the college. Anyone who's gone to college knows that there's tons of nothing but time and opportunity, right, to experience and witness new things, meet new people, whether it be sexual or just having relationships. Period, friendships, networking. You get that's what that scene is for. That's what the college scene is
But
for. It's to grow. It's to get an education. What you want to do in life.
in this day and age, it's hard already just to sustain a relationship and be together and actually be present with each other without having to go through college, without having to go, like, because there's so many options. There's now you got college added, you got social media added onto it. There's just so to sustain a relationship outside of college is hard as hell. To sustain a relationship while being in college and at that two separate colleges got to be tough. So that's the reality of it. It doesn't mean that you will love that person any less, but sometimes you just have to be realistic with your situations. And I think I had this conversation with you before you left to college. Like, yo, you're probably better off just maintaining that friendship, keep having respect for each other, not going through the difficulties of that, and just pretty much every time you guys, if you guys are back in one area like Connecticut, if you guys are both back in Connecticut, you both on spring break, and you both having a summer or whatever the case is, then you know that you guys can revisit that and have that relationship. You know where y'all stand. You don't need to be going through her phone. She don't need to be going through your phone. You guys don't need to be arguing about nothing. Enjoy the time when you guys have it. Spend less time being argumentative or combative because it's not doing anything for you guys, right? So when you do have that time together, have an understanding like, yo, we're gonna be together. If we're gonna have this time together, let's not spend it on like petty stuff. Let's enjoy. Let's be in the moment. Let's enjoy each other. Let's bask in the moment. Let's be appreciative that we even get to have this time together, and then move forward. And then when you go to college, when you go back to school, y'all know what it is already. and you guys just got to be on that type of maturity if you wanted to, sustain a relationship while being in college. I think that's the realistic.
I'm not gonna be biased. I'm not partial to either side, but he's your son. He got to put his hand on the stove to know if it's hot. At the end of the day,
I think
no matter how much we talk to him, he's got to put his hand on the stove to understand the stove is hot. So he's gonna go through his own experiences and deal with his own
heartbreak
stuff.
sucks though.
It does, but you grow from heartbreak.
Yeah.
You can't avoid it.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
You can't avoid it.
I agree.
Heartbreak definitely sucks. I don't know if everybody gets to experience heartbreak, but I think it's something you definitely grow from and you learn from, and you're like, damn, I don't want to be heartbroken again.
Right.
So you reflect back on your flaws in your relationship and the things that you want out of a relationship that you also have to give into a relationship, not to experience that heartbreak again, right? Because you're like, damn, this feels better. We're able to talk. We're able to enjoy each other's company. We're able to trust each other. We're able to move how we want to move and still do my own thing and what fulfills me, while letting her do her own thing and what fulfills her, and still enjoying each other, right?
Right.
So that's a healthy relationship. So, I mean, going back to it, I just think that that's how you learn, right? Through heartbreak.
Right.
So
P, in this climate, I know you, so you've had your fair share of difficulties within relationships. How do you feel about marriage and in the climate of what we're in today, as far as like social media and just how things are today? What made you decide to get married? Being that you did have those difficulties, you did have to go through, in your previous relationships, like what about marriage do you think is a good thing, and what do you think, what do you think about marriage is a good thing?
So
why people still getting married,
Sure, I used to believe that I would never get married once upon a time.
Yeah.
Because I looked at it from like a general aspect. It's like, oh, it's a ring. But, when I met my wife now, I always said, I'll marry my best friend. Right. When I can rock out with somebody on any level and still be me and not have to suppress who I am to please my partner, and become best friends, I felt like that was the only way I can get married.
Right.
And I was a firm believer of not getting married. Trust me.
I was the same way. And then like you kind of, you set the example for us as far as marriage and like even that being a thing still.
Yeah, I don't,
right?
You know what? I think just growing up, not having a great example of what a healthy relationship looks like kind of kept me from just that just kept me in my little place of thinking that this was the way it was supposed to be. Like we can have everything a married couple has without the ring and the paper,
right?
Without the big wedding, without all the other stuff that comes with it. But for me, looking back at that, I put a cap essentially on my relationships, right? Because we can only get this far because I'm not gonna get married. Now that I've chosen to be married, there's no cap. The love is endless. You know what I'm saying? I'll do anything for my wife. She has, every bit of me. There's no second guessing. We're one at the end of the day. So there's no cap on like how far I can go with her.
Right.
Versus being like, no, you're just my girlfriend. We're not married.
It puts like a different.
It puts your mind, like I feel like I have to take care of her. I have to provide. I have to protect. You know what I'm saying? Like
right.
She's family. She's me. She's a part of me. You know what I'm saying?
She's half Puerto Rican now.
Yeah, let her tell it. Let her tell it for sure. So we're I was very fortunate, man, to meet my wife.
Yeah, I feel like you changed that dynamic in our family, and you've honestly put that back on the table for me. Just the way you did it, it was just so elegant and so like classy and so like, and I never really had an example of that. So when you were able to display it, and I seen it fruition, I'm like, damn, this is something that I might want to do. This is something that like, if I ever get that same dynamic, and it's crazy because that's what I look for, with Majay is my friend, like being my friend. What is she more of my friend, or and that's exactly where we're able to do everything together, and I feel like all the right qualities are there.
It's funny because we say like you want to do everything together. Yes, to a certain extent, right?
Yeah.
But it's also about like just the way you speak to each other, how real you are with each other. That type of stuff I think weighs in a lot, and then obviously like the romantic part of it.
Yeah.
Plays a part. So, but yeah, I think it just goes back to kind of like you modeling my behaviors and kind of like looking up to me your whole life. Like I'm trying to set the example. I'm trying to break the cycle of what we're used to.
Does that put
and
any
dealing
pressure
with-
on you? Like as far as like the whole family's got their eyes on you.
Dog,
to
I'm
see...
built for pressure. At
Yeah.
this point, I understand that I'm built for pressure. I'm built to be the foundation of the family, and I want everybody else to like.
Yeah.
I just took on that role. That's kind of what I understood my purpose here was for, and I still try to continue that on whoever views me, even friends.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I just try to be who I am genuinely and move from a place of love and set the standard almost, and I still emulate people that I deem have healthy relationships or have success, and there's never no hate from my heart. Like I want to emulate some of those things,
Right.
and I take those good qualities so that way I can give that to the people I love and the people who look up to me.
Right. Joe, how did you view Uncle Pito getting married? Like, what did that do for you?
I feel like kind of like at first when him and Taylor had first got together, I didn't really think much of it. And then, seeing like how healthy everything was and, always hearing you talking about it and hearing how things were just really good for you. It always made me feel good that you were in a happy place, finding somebody that you can, like you said, that's your best friend. And like Dad said, it kind of like set the standard to see that it is possible to have a happy ending or to be able to find that person and be able to work on something to be able to get married. And being at like the wedding and everything was amazing. It was a great time, and it kind of just was like for me it was just like I want to be able to experience this one day and be able to enjoy it.
Yeah, all my guys were there, man. Everybody who meant anything to me was
was
there.
fire.
To be honest, it was a good
That was
time.
very well said.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that, man. It means a lot. It was important. Like initially, I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna have any kids at the wedding. And I was like, my family's full of kids.
Yeah.
I need them to see this.
Right.
I wanted it to be no kids at the wedding. I was like, all my nephews and nieces are gonna be there. You know what I'm saying? Because they need to see what it could be, what a healthy relationship is, what getting married, that experience in itself could be. Like even doing like the photo shoot and dressing up in the suit.
Yeah, I just
and,
thought it was super
that stuff
dope.
was
Yeah.
cool.
It was such a great wedding.
Shit,
Such good vibes.
I had no idea like what it was supposed to be like, but
Yeah.
we figured it out as we went along,
Yeah.
and it was fun, man. It was good.
So transitioning out of that, we had just started an organization. It's called Double Down Athletes. You can see it on my brother's shirt.
Ooh.
We started. My brother pretty much is at the forefront of it, and we're all kind of moving as a unit at this point. How are you guys feeling about that? We just got done with the second day of the camp.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? How are you feeling about it, P? So far.
Honestly, when I sit back and I'm reflecting, I'm like, damn, it was dope.
Yeah.
Day one, it's crazy because I had like game day nerves.
Yeah.
Right. I had been prepping. It was like practicing all week, but I had been preparing for like the camp for a minute. But then it was like the day before the game. I wanted to lay my outfit out. I wanted to, see what I was gonna wear that day at the camp. Make sure all my paperwork and stuff was in place.
Yeah.
But then like the day came, and it was like getting that first hit. Bow. Once the first group went off, then I was in my element and things were flowing. I think it helped that we communicated throughout the whole time, right? Of how the camp was supposed to go, everybody's role in it,
Right.
and how we were gonna go about it. I think we were well prepared, and appreciate y'all for the continued support too. Everybody who came out, that was amazing. It was a blessing, and I hope that those of you who are watching this continue to support, because we on to something special for sure. I appreciate you guys.
Joe got took his whole spring break and committed to this.
Yeah, he did, man.
So that was good.
My guy committed.
I was telling him, you want to go to Puerto Rico? What do you want to go? Tell me where you want to go, and we can make this happen. And he's like, nah, I'm
just committed to the camp, and
gonna do the camp.
Well, that's what happens when you believe in something, right? So
100%.
he knows that, we put in the work with him at a young age, and he's had a lot of success at every level for the most part, youth, high school, college, after doing freshman year, rookie of the year, first team all conference as a freshman, all rookie team, couple school records. So people were seeing that stuff, and we were posting it, and we were just doing it just because that's what I wanted him to see. Like, I wanted him to see the work he was putting in, how he was progressing, and we were getting a lot of feedback, like, yo, I need to get with you guys.
Yeah.
So we all put our heads together, and we're like, yo, let's do this.
Right.
And
I feel like that Joe being leaps and bounds ahead of people in high school gave him that, like, extra, on top of being, like, super talented, right? Because he was able to gain that knowledge from you, I feel like that prepared him for, like, every step ahead of him. And it's crazy because what Double Down Athletes is what we've been doing all these years, right? All the footwork drills, all the knowledge that you've been implementing within Joe and Jalen and stuff like that. Like, I feel like, where everybody's in their element. I'm recording.
Yeah.
Joe's teaching. You're teaching. JJ's helping out, and
and participating
in the camp. I just think it's just a good family affair.
For what it was, so what my business is it's just a wide receiver skill development for the youth all the way up to the college level, if you deem, but specified working with wide receiver specific in football. So Joe's a wide receiver. We've been doing that his entire freaking youth career. Now he's a young man, and now he's helping me out and passing the torch to him, and hopefully continue to give that knowledge out and learn new things in his college career that he can teach me about shit. Right? But we got to stay informed and stay present in the game and continue to grow. I love being a student. I think that's the biggest thing for me. Like, I've been out the game for a while, in regards to actually playing, but just being able to be a student to the game again kind of like sparked my fire again. You know?
That's fire.
It definitely lit the fire under me again, and I'm staying relevant. I'm following, different drills and techniques and lingo that they're using nowadays just to stay relevant.
Right.
But it's been fun, man. It's been fun. We got one more day on March 23rd. And then there'll be more to come for sure.
Yeah, man. So listen, this has been like the greatest convo. Like, I love these kind of conversations.
This shit actually flowed, man. I was nervous about it, but it was regular conversation.
You what, like, because this is what we do, right? Like, this is something that we've just always did. Now just mics is in front of us, right? So, we're gonna continue to be great. We're going to continue to push the organization. Joe's going off to college and back to college off spring break soon. So he's going to continue to be great and implement those things in his life. And, we're going to continue to give him advice and be here for him. And, anything you ever need, you already know.
Double up.
Here all day long.
I ain't telling no lies. I just,
So thank you guys for tuning in.
I ain't telling no lies. I just, 5, 4.